Hello, hello, hello. Hey,
Hi,
how are you today?
I'm good.
Danielle,
Behind
what
the
time is
two.
it where you are sitting?
Hello, sorry, I just did not hear your question.
I said, what time is it where you are?
It's 6 o'clock in the afternoon.
Okay, so you're
Yes,
6 hours separate.
yeah, 6 hour difference. Yes, I just sent the link to Tammy because I saw she wrote asking for
I
the.
posted it in the
Mhm.
group too.
Yeah, yeah, I found it.
I was getting water and running around and heard the church bells go off and ran back in here. I'm like, okay, it's time.
You're gonna have to learn my trick, Joe.
What's your trick?
So the night before, I look at my calendar and I set timers for every meeting, and I set it for 10 minutes before the meeting starts. And that way it goes off, and then I snooze it, and that gives me 9 minutes to wrap up whatever I need to, go to the
To go to the
bathroom, go to
next thing. Yeah, I did that.
whatever.
I have an anniversary clock that we've had now. It's like 30 years old, and I reset the time on it and the little thing doesn't spin, but it goes off 15 minutes before the hour.
Mm.
So I did that 15
Mm.
minutes and I went upstairs and,
Well, that's
doing
that's the
all the
good thing about
things,
the
but
snooze. The
yeah, mine
snooze
doesn't have a snooze.
in nine
So
minutes it goes off again, and then I'm like, oh, I gotta. If I didn't
gotta go.
finish, I gotta wrap it up.
Yeah, I just, like I said, lost track of time in between the alarm and the time. So uh so who else? Tammy's coming.
I think she's coming. Yes, because
Yeah,
she wrote.
I put it in here too.
Mm.
So I have two. I have an iron chat and I have our consult. Um, yeah, that's in there. I'm trying to go through all the messages and
Yeah,
see
yeah.
if there's anything else in here.
I'm just
I
going
don't
to
think
close.
I missed any messages, so but once again, all my windows are all over the place. Here we go. All right. Iron or consult? What do we want to do first?
There are two here because I ordered one for somebody and really needed one.
You guys have a preference? We can start with iron and then do the console.
As you like.
Fine for whatever.
Yeah,
All right,
you are
I'm
presenting.
easy
You,
today.
you can choose.
I can choose. Hey.
I'm super easy.
I
Mm.
won't let that get out, Deb.
Yeah. Well, my husband's glad for himself. Of
It's been a long week. What can I say?
course, there are times that I'm not. So we'll just go with
We'll just go with it.
yeah.
All right. All right, let's do iron. Let's get that out of the way, and then we can do, you can present.
I don't know that iron ever gets out of the way because out of all the stuff you have talked about, I still don't get it.
Yeah. There's a quote today. I was re-listening to one of the iron talks,
Mm.
and hi Tammy.
Hi.
So the quote that Jen, it was so funny. She goes, sometimes, um, is it this one or is it the other? Hang on. No, I think it's here. She said sometimes you just look at the labs and you stare at them and stare at them and still you don't know what the heck is going on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, like, sometimes it's the body's doing what it's doing, and it sometimes doesn't make sense because we don't have all the information, and you just have to trust that the body is
Not
doing
do
what it
anything.
needs to do.
Mm.
You know, we don't always have to know all the things, right? We don't have to know what, I mean, we were talking about inflammation and all the IL markers, and we're going to get into a little bit of that today, but you don't need to know which one's up and which one's down because that's not functional wellness. Right now, if you want to go be a functional neurologist or functional immunologist, and I mean, I've taken the functional immunology course from Dr. Yannick for, I don't know, 4 years now.
Mm.
I used to be on his calls every week when, you know, COVID was rampant and I was, you know, doing that stuff. But you still don't, at the end of the day, I mean, unless you're going to specifically try and treat a marker, which is what we do not do, there's no reason to like, I love it. My biochemistry science geeky nerd mind wants to know all of it, right? But you don't need to. Like to be a good practitioner and get your clients well, you don't need to know all the little teeny tiny nuances of all the things. I mean, it's great to have that in the back of your mind, but how do you influence the body to have less inflammation? Foundationally, we know how to do that, right? So that's my little caveat. Sometimes you're just going to look at the labs and you're going to look at the iron numbers and go, well, that doesn't make a whole lot of freaking sense now, does it? You're just going to move on because there's nothing you can do. But let's see what we can learn today and get one step closer to knowing a little bit more about iron. And then we'll do the consult. All right, let me share my screen. You should be seeing iron homeostasis facts. That's what you should be seeing. Yes?
Yes.
All right. Here we go. Fun times. So the daily iron need of the human body is 25 milligrams, and you get that from two places. The first place you get it from is you get 23 milligrams from old red blood cells and 2 milligrams from your diet. So how many people knew that breakdown?
No.
No, right?
I-
And we're all
First
about,
time-
go ahead, Daniela, what did you say?
The first time that I hear this.
Yeah, right? So,
Yeah.
I mean, we're sitting here looking at iron labs, right? And we're sitting here going, well, how do we get these people to absorb more iron from their diet when only 2 out of 25, right, is actually absorbed from our diet? Most of it is what's already in the red blood cells that our bodies are recycling. So it's a lot more complicated, right, than just getting people to eat more meat. Now, you know, just start, you know, kind of getting an idea here of, you know, what regulates iron in the body. So if 23 milligrams come from old red blood cells, what organ are we thinking about?
Is it the spleen?
Mm-hmm. Yay, ding, 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 ding. Yeah, you're thinking about the spleen. My computer just asked me if I was playing music. No. Set up professional audio. Nope. No music. So, you know, if somebody you know has a problem with their spleen or they've had part of their spleen removed or something's going on, then you're going to know that they're probably going to have a problem with low iron. You know, so keep that in mind. So this is what happens in the body. I tried to like mark all this stuff down, but it, let me go back to my notes, guys. Sorry. To make this one bigger. So the first thing that's going to happen is this is in the intestine. Okay, so in the intestine, your body is going to take Fe3 and with this Fe reductase enzyme, reduce it to Fe2. Fe2 then uses DMT1 to get absorbed into the enterocyte and then uses ferroportin to get through to the other side. So this is the iron absorption in the small intestine. It also here in the spleen, well, here in the liver, right? Same thing happens in the hepatocyte. In the bone marrow, then that iron is going to get added here using DMT1 again to the little erythroblast that's being made, right? And then you're going to get erythrocytes. You know, this is iron and transferrin in the liver. And then over here are the macrophages, which take the old red blood cells, right, and gobble them up, break them down. And here's the iron through ferroportin again, getting back, released back out to be used again. So this is a whole recycling process that involves these three organs and the bone marrow to make red blood cells, to take the iron, absorb it, transport it, make red blood cells, and go over and over and over again. And that was just a lovely little Google image that got used for that. Iron is hard for the body to excrete. So excretion of iron is not a way to regulate the levels of iron in the body. There's no excretion of iron. It's either stored or used up in red blood cells. There's no way for the body to get rid of excess iron. So if somebody has, okay, what hemochromatosis, is that the one where they just have loads and loads of okay. The only way to do that is through giving blood. So if someone has that disorder where people have like way overloads of iron in the body, they usually know that and go in for regular blood donation. Just go give blood. So to avoid iron overload or deficiency, an organism must maintain an internal equilibrium of iron and make iron available only when and where it is needed. So how does the body do that? Anybody know? Nobody knows the magic hormone that does that? So the circulating peptide hormone hepcidin is a key molecule that regulates systemic iron homeostasis and is mainly produced in the liver. So hepcidin levels are modified in response to physiological stimuli that affect iron homeostasis, such as iron overload, hepatic iron stores, inflammation, iron deficiency, erythropoietic, I love that word, although it's hard to say, erythropoietic activity, that's the making of red blood cells, right? And hypoxia. And if there, guys, if you were not a biology major or a biochemistry major, or you didn't go to some sort of medical school and these words are really big and you don't know what they are, stop me and we can explain them. Right? Anything hepatic is what organ?
Liver.
Liver.
Yeah. Erythropoiesis or erythropoietic is how red blood cells are formed. So if we go back 2 slides, right? In the bone marrow, this is the erythroblast. And in the making of this process, you spit out red blood cells, erythrocytes, and that happens in the bone marrow. Hepatocytes, right? Those are liver cells. And then you guys know macrophage, right? White blood cells that gobble stuff up. Where are we? Back here. So higher levels of hepcidin reduce iron absorption and vice versa. Okay. So iron absorption and hepcidin are opposite. Hepcidin modulates serum iron levels and controls transferrin saturation by inhibiting the release from duodenal enterocytes, macrophages, and hepatocytes. So those are the three places where iron, right, stores are released, absorbed, transferred, and hepcidin modulates that and controls that transferrin saturation. Hepcidin expression is also induced by the inflammatory cytokine interleukin 6, which is IL-6, IL-1, IL-22. So all those interleukins, all those inflammatory cytokines, right? So that's why we say, right, when there's a lot of inflammation, right?
You can't absorb iron
Right.
because hepcidin is going to interact, make
Yep.
you where you can't absorb it. Wow, that's something I just now got that now makes so much more sense.
Right? And by lipopolysaccharides. So LPS. When we see high or low ferritin with an opposite high or low iron, this is likely being mediated by hepcidin. So this is how iron is regulated. When hepcidin is low, iron is absorbed. When hepcidin is high, iron is stored.
Yeah, so this is also the reason when they say when you supplement with iron, not to supplement every day, but every second day, just because of hepcidin.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, when you go back to it, right? How much iron, if hepcidin is high, and you have, I mean, are you going to see that iron out in circulation?
No, because hepcidin will store the iron.
Right. So it's just going to go into storage.
Mm.
So, I mean, it's one of those things that using one marker, right, is what you said last week, or maybe on Wednesday, I lose track here, but if the body isn't using iron or isn't storing iron or isn't keeping iron around or whatever's going on with it, just throwing more iron at it may not solve the problem. It might actually make it worse.
Mm-hmm.
So we can't just look at one marker and decide what's going on. And like Jen so eloquently said, sometimes you look at it and just scratch your head and you have no idea what the body's trying to do because it just doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So there are those cases, but we're going to try our darndest with each and every client to try and figure out what is driving the dynamic that we're seeing. Hepcidin can't be measured or regulated, but we can use ferritin levels as a good rule of thumb. There's also some other markers that we can look at. High CRP usually means hepcidin is high because it's influenced by inflammation. Hepcidin is almost, what is this? HH. Sorry, guys. Da-da-da. I have to get my notes. What did I abbreviate HH? Well, here we go. Let's see. Low. High CRP is high hepcidin, and iron deficiency anemia. The body needs iron. So we might see a low. What is this low? I don't even know what this says.
Change.
I copied the slide and then I have my transcript here, but it didn't transcribe it very well. So It says low hepcite, and that's encouraging iron absorption. So maybe that's supposed to be low hepcidin. When hepcidin is completely gone, it allows too much iron absorption. So maybe that's supposed to be low hepcidin. I don't know. I'll look it up and find out, guys. On a side note, monoclonal antibodies offer regulatory features to hepcidin. So people that have monoclonal antibody um, treatment, and I know that happened a lot during COVID. It actually helps regulate hepcidin, and it's raising it to shut down iron absorption because iron is being raised as an acute phase reactant. So in different forms of inflammation. So someone with that actually, they found that that would help regulate that high acute phase reactant in ferritin. So that was interesting. There's actually a paper on it that I could not find that Jen was citing. So, oh, who's chatting? Oh, your device is dying. Okay, no problem. And then emotional and mental stress also, right? If that has a direct effect on hepcidin and iron levels in the body. So people that are having obvious nervous system regulation issues causing too much stress, driving inflammation, can also affect hepcidin levels. Let me make a note. I've got to figure out what that is. I'm guessing, if hepcidin is almost completely gone and it's opposite, right? Hepcidin is super low, and you can look at low hepcidin and all the iron being absorbed, not stored. It would be low ferritin levels would cause that. You could see that in low ferritin numbers.
Can I ask a stupid question? But I
No,
see
go
it very
ahead.
often. I have some clients in Greece, and often I see doctors like their ferritin is high, but the iron is low, and they supplement with iron, which is completely wrong, correct?
Yeah,
Because
why
there
would
is
you
a
do that?
wisdom, okay, there's a wisdom in the body
Mm-hmm.
trying to keep away the iron, correct?
Right.
So it's
Yeah.
like putting fire on the fire. Okay,
Yeah.
because I see it very often.
It happens all the time.
Okay, it's
Yeah.
not
That's
only
when
in
you're
Greece.
looking, are they looking at both numbers? Are they really looking to see what's going on in the body and why
No,
the body's
they're
doing
not
what it's
looking
doing?
because they don't know.
Right.
And they're also giving infusions of iron here. It's
Yeah. Yeah.
crazy.
It happens all the time, guys. All the time. And what else is happening? I mean, we talked last time, right? When you're looking at the numbers and things aren't making sense, and you've got, one way or the other, when things are just off, is something missing? Like what, are we missing a cofactor, right? Dumping iron in the body that has no way, right? We've said this. The body has no way of excreting the extra iron.
Mm.
No way. So when you put it in, there's not like a little, it's not like all the other things where the body has a way of getting rid of it. It doesn't. It stores it. And then what happens when that ferritin goes super high?
Mm.
So a pattern of high ferritin and low iron. Here we go. This is exactly what you just said, right? Within a normal rule of thumb range, right? So if you have high ferritin and low iron and you add them up together and they're in between that range of 150 to 200, they both could be suboptimal because ferritin is an acute phase reactant. Ferritin levels can be elevated anytime you have an inflammatory condition such as an underlying infection. Hepcidin is also an acute phase reactant. So both ferritin and hepcidin can elevate in inflammation.
Mm.
So what's the difference between iron deficiency anemia and the anemia of chronic disease?
Mm. One question, from which when ferritin,
Mm-hmm.
from which range you consider inflammation? Okay, I think you have to look on the body and everything, but
Yeah.
is there a number up that you say, okay, this is inflammation from I don't know, from
So
80 to 90?
if you add up the iron, right? And do you remember, were you on the call when we were showing the serum iron levels going down and the ferritin going up, and it was still in that range of 150 to 200,
Yes.
right? So that range, I would think maybe the body's sequestering the iron for some reason, right? It's either inflammation, it's infection, it's something, but the body's purposely hiding the iron.
Mm,
When it starts going above that range,
okay.
right? Now, there's no clear-cut thing. It could happen at 180,
Mhm.
right? And we could be seeing acute phase reactants, when that range is, when it's getting higher, but there's no like deciding number. Like,
Mhm.
there's no clear-cut line. You just have to kind of look at who is this client, what's going on with them, right? Because at
Yeah,
some point, the body, you can't tell because now it's an acute phase reactant. Now ferritin is just going
Mm,
bonkers, right?
mm,
Hepcidin is high, ferritin is high. It's an acute phase reactant, and it's hiding the true amount of ferritin,
mhm.
right? What's the true amount of stored iron? We don't know because now ferritin is just, you've got so much inflammation and so much damage and so many damaged cells that you're leaking ferritin out.
Mm,
So how much is actually stored ferritin? You can't really tell.
mm.
So
Yeah, because you said that ferritin is in the cell, and when we find it in the blood, so it means that our cell. Oh
yeah,
my God.
our cell integrity is gone, right?
Yeah, it's gone
We're
and it's
busting.
leaking.
Yeah,
Okay. Mm,
yeah, yeah. The fire, there's a lot of coals, a lot of ash, a lot of burnt up stuff happening, right? So that's what you're seeing. So what's the difference between iron deficiency anemia and the anemia of chronic disease? Iron deficiency anemia is actually caused by low iron stores in the body, while the anemia of chronic disease is a functional anemia of iron-restricted erythropoiesis related to diseases such as infections, autoimmune disease, cancer, and organ failure. So, if you truly have low iron and it's a functional anemia, right, versus what happens in chronic disease, right? What happens when you have infections and you're seeing those acute phase reactants, right? So here we go. How will the body respond to oral iron intake when hepcidin is high?
it will store it.
It's just going to store it, right? I mean, a pattern of low ferritin. So here, patterns of low ferritin and high iron, right? So this is the opposite of what you were talking about, Tammy. You were talking about having, so this is when ferritin is super low and you've got high iron levels and you're still within that normal range, right? You add it up and there's seems to be sufficient iron in the body, right? But it's all out there. So it could be poor B6 or zinc or both, or something that's blocking the final production of red blood cells. Abnormally high serum iron levels may mean you've consumed too much iron, too much vitamin C, too much B12, right? So if you've got someone that's actually trying to supplement and it's just sticking around, vitamin C and B12 are indirectly responsible for raising blood iron levels to keep it in a healthy range. So, you can be supplementing yourself into some of these things, which is why we try not to supplement single vitamins or single nutrients in high quantities for long periods of time, right? Because you drive those other deficiencies. On the HTMA,
Can you explain the B12?
Um,
Are we going to go over that?
well, so what I was just saying, on the HTMA charts, all those circles, one of the links on trace element, I believe it's on trace elements, talks about synergistic and antagonistic vitamins and minerals for the nutrients. And by taking vitamin C and B12, you could be absorbing more iron into the serum indirectly.
I understand the C. I just don't understand the B12. I'm trying to understand where the B12 comes into play so it makes sense to me, because I understand the B6, I understand the zinc, and I understand the C. I'm missing the B12 component, where that
You
comes
want the mechanism of that?
Yeah, I'm missing where that's coming into play.
I will have to look it up.
Okay.
So low RBCs and low neutrophils, what type of anemia affects the spleen? So if you've got low RBCs, right, and you've got low white blood cells, conditions such as hemolytic anemia and neutropenia that cause early destruction of red blood cells, and that's supposed to be and an overload to the spleen, whose job it is to remove them, can be an autoimmune thing. It can be a potential complication of an enlarged spleen, an infection. An enlarged spleen can reduce the number of healthy red blood cells, platelets, and white cells in your bloodstream, leading to more frequent infections. So anemia and increased bleeding are also possible. So if you do see this type of dynamic, these are some of the things that might be behind it. So when you're looking, this is a chart that helps you kind of figure out the differentiation between, is it the anemia of chronic disease or is it iron deficiency anemia? So you can look at your numbers, right? You can look at iron and transferrin SAT numbers and ferritin numbers, and kind of try and figure out, which one you're dealing with. And sometimes people have both. I mean, it is possible. Sometimes we get some of these really weird patterns, and it's because they have both, right? I mean, it's kind of when you look at a red blood cell count, right? And you're looking at it and you're like, well, this doesn't make sense. Like you're looking at anemia patterns and red blood cell numbers, and you're like, well, maybe they have low iron and low B12. So it's macrocytic and microcytic. And it's the same thing here. Like, how do you differentiate when, Tammy, write that line? Or was it Daniela? Which one of you asked? Where's the line that I can say this is definitely one or the other? It could be different for every person, but it's that gradient of looking at your client and trying to figure out, and every single case is going to be different, but this chart might be helpful. I've only ever seen this soluble transferrin receptor on one blood test. It's not something that's normally run. Normally, you're going to have an iron, and you're going to have a SAT number, you're going to have a ferritin number, you're going to have a TIBC number. But some of these you might not have, and you may not have cytokine levels. It's not, I've only seen these if they've if they've gone to a functional neurologist or something and they've had cytokine levels measured. But most of the time, you're not going to see some of these bottom numbers. So this is another chart that might be helpful. If you've got an elevated serum ferritin, right? So, and this is in different units than I'm used to seeing, but these are all reasons why you may have an elevated serum ferritin. Do they have the genotype for iron absorption? Do they consume alcohol? Do they have metabolic syndrome, obesity, or diabetes? Some of this is going to explain things, and some of it's not. Um, do they have liver disease? Do they have a malignancy? And if it's crazy high, then, you may be referring them out. But these are just some of the reasons why you'd have an elevated serum ferritin. So, ferritin stores iron, and serum iron is bound to transferrin. Serum iron is mainly from macrophage liberation of iron, and a small percentage is from what we eat. Hepcidin is the peptide hormone that helps regulate iron metabolism. Hepcidin can be influenced by several factors, especially diet, infection, inflammation, and emotional stress. Any questions, guys? Anything that jumps out at you that we're going to be doing a lot of the different anemias, looking through, I believe, Deb, actually, I believe one of our iron patterns, I think there's 3 separate PowerPoints on that. I think one of them actually talks about B12 in the anemia pattern. So that might help you when we get to that one. Let's see. So iron supplementation, right? It seems to be the easy out, and it's definitely where doctors go, right? But we know from what we've learned today that it's not usually about supplementing with more iron. Looking at ferritin is kind of like looking at vitamin D numbers. It only tells part of the story. If all we look at is the vitamin D that's stored and we don't look at calcitriol, you don't know how much iron is in the body. And if you're just looking at ferritin, you're only looking at the storage. You're not looking at the iron that's out there. So you can't just use ferritin alone. It's best if you are going to supplement iron to do a food source of iron. Use desiccated liver or spleen. Find out, instead of using some other kind of iron that the body has a hard time with. What else may cause increased iron in serum? I mean, obviously, if we're just, if you're absorbing the iron, if you've got a lot of iron in your diet, maybe you're cooking in cast iron pans just all the time. That's the only pan that you use, so you've got a lot of iron from that. And if you don't have the cofactors and you don't have, if your body's not putting any of it into storage or using any of it, right? Are all reasons why iron might just stay in serum and not go into storage. And then I had room if you guys had any other questions, but I know for me, I have to watch things and listen to things and mull them over in my head and look at different panels until questions come up for me. So
Well, that was kind of why I was asking about the B12, because everything else you're saying I'm following and makes sense, but then the B12 I'm just like, okay, there's a piece I'm missing and I don't know what it is.
yeah. And there is another, let me stop share there. There are 3 more PowerPoints that all go through the different anemias, what drives them, other markers to look at, other supplementation that might be driving them. So I know there's a whole thing on that. So I will, hopefully next week, I'll be able to get that question answered for you and find out what the heck I wrote in as HH on there because I'm not finding it in my notes. It is absolutely okay, guys, at this point to just like be like, okay, there's a whole lot about iron that I do not know.
That's so true.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is a huge topic and over and over and over again. Hi, Jen. Um, did you have a question?
I'm just wondering about, did I hear you say that Hepcidin really can't be measured?
No,
So
you
you
can
keep
look
talking about
at
it
it.
high and low, but
Yeah, but ferritin is a good mirror of levels. So if ferritin's high or ferritin's low, then you can assume that hepcidin is high or low. Okay. All right. This is the fun one. Let me go to this. How many of you guys do free consults, do discovery calls before you take on a client? Yes. 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 Do you find that you have a good process for that, or is that a sticking point for you?
I mean, I think I have a pretty good process. I mean, I've taken a bunch of things from different people. A lot of the stuff I think that you've presented from different calls, I think helped me probably the most. But right now I have about a 80%, I think, conversion rate.
If you have 100% conversion rate, then you're probably not being picky enough.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I have an 80%.
Right.
So,
I mean, I don't hire everyone. And I'm going to get into that, right? There are just some
right.
people that I think.
Well, I haven't really turned anybody away, but I did strongly discourage one person. And they were just adamant that they were, and so far they're doing okay. So I guess we'll keep on
keep on keeping on.
Yeah, I mean, and that's what I kind of explain to people. I'm just not sure you're ready, and I was like, and I'm not here just to take people's money. I'm here to help people, and actually somebody else paid for it, and so I was trying to tell the person that was paying for it, I'm just like, I just don't really think he's ready, and I don't want you to waste your money. And they were adamant, and I was like, well, okay, well, if you're adamant, just realize if he's not ready, I did everything in my power to tell you, but I didn't think he was ready, but he's doing okay. So
good. Tammy, Daniela, what do you guys?
I used to do like a longer discovery call. It didn't work for me, so I ended up 2 hours, and the person would say the story of his life. So I did it several, and then of course, I would say do this, that, blah blah blah. So what I do now is more of a let's talk and see if we are a fit. Like, because I have to say, I'm working a lot with Greece, and in Greece there are not so many people that do what I do. So I have the luxury to say, okay, I don't want to work with everybody, and I need to feel good when I speak with somebody. And the same this person, yeah. It needs to be a
Right.
chemistry.
Yep.
And I'm very much an intuitive. Like I know when something works, I know it. So I do now this like 15-minute call, and then we go yes or no into a longer call, which is actually the session. I have to say, like, I think like Deborah, like about 80%. And recently, because I do work a lot with people with diabetes, but these are the people where they need sometimes to be a little bit more like to do real changes. Yeah. When there is embedded diabetes, they need to cut down on certain foods. They need to start walking. And I know if they don't do it, I mean, they will fail. So when I see that somebody is not committed enough, like I ask them, what is your commitment? Oh, please don't take away my sugar from me. Well, I know that's not a fit. And I say, you know what? Perhaps consider working with me a little bit later in your life. And yeah, it works.
Good.
It works.
Jen, Daniela, how do you guys feel about
Oh,
your consults?
well, I take about half an hour at least. It's a long. I give the time just to explain exactly what I do because a lot of people do not understand what I'm doing and how I'm working.
Hmm.
And I'm trying to see if the people are committed, but I don't have a lot of success, I must say, because most of the people are still looking to get a pill and to solve the problem. For example, I'm working now with a lady, she has multiple sclerosis.
Hmm.
And she contacted me 3, 4 years ago, and I told her how I was working and everything, but she's very, she don't want to give up on anything. So I told her, look, we
Okay.
together. And now, when she heard that I was working with a gentleman that lost 10 kilograms in 3 months, she called me and she said me, I will listen everything what you. Let's see how
Yeah.
we will. I don't know. I don't know. Let's see.
Yeah. Jen, how are you doing your calls?
Well, to be honest, I'm kind of not really bringing a lot of new clients in right now. So getting ready for the test, but
Yep.
also kind of where I'm pulling from is my PT practice. Like it's a
Yeah.
little bit of a natural kind of feeder.
Yep.
So that's worked, and I'm kind of curious in hearing about these discovery calls because I feel like how much do you get to in 15 minutes? Like even sometimes listening to some of the I already have a lot of background on my existing clients from the PT work, right? So
Yeah.
I have that an odd discovery call in a way, but it's happening over time. So I'm curious, like, how do you guys keep them to 15 minutes and what are you vetting? Because
So I well, for starters, I set those timers too. So like I set a timer again for 10 minutes before it's supposed to be over. And, so that kind of holds me to it. So I kind of tell the person right when they get on the call that I'm going to give them about 5 minutes to tell me kind of what's going on with them. And I kind of write just some things that I jotted down. And then I kind of pull up that root cause slide that Joe has shared with us before. And I
Mhm.
just kind of explain, the stuff at the top. And usually one of the things that they're dealing with, right, is up at the top, at least one. And then I'll say, what's happening in the middle is because of what's at the bottom. And we really look through and go through and address everything at the bottom. And then I kind of explain how I work, like what the package, like, with uh, the personal medical history and how many pages it is and how I'm going to review it for hours before I meet with them. And then our initial intake is going to be 90 minutes. And it's going to be a lot of them talking because I'm going to be asking them questions.
Mhm.
And then what my expectations of them are to get the paperwork in on time. And that in between follow ups, there will be a form for you to fill out. And I need that ahead of time because I'm going to review it because I don't know everything. And you may stump me with something and I need time to go and research or, investigate what you might be experiencing a little further or something like that. And and then I tell them that I will send them notes from the session and that'll be in, from Practice Better. And then I just write up their notes. I usually try to give them something, like even if they decide not to work with me, I try to give them something that at least leaves them better than I found them, like puts them on the right track. And then I
that's
always put,
after your like initial consult though. That's not after the
no,
discovery call.
no, in the discovery call. So like, I don't know, like, I've done different videos or whatever. So like, if they say anxiety or that's something they're dealing with, then I may put a link and I was like, here's something that might help you think differently about your anxiety. Like I try to give them something, or maybe it's a handout that I already have that talks about sleep hygiene because they were talking, that they don't sleep well or something. Like, I try to give them one thing at least of something that they mentioned that will leave, if they would just listen to it or read it, would leave them better off, whether they decide to work with me or not. And then, I also have the sales package thing there, like the link to take them if they want to work with me. And I don't know. I mean, I haven't gotten any duds yet. But Jennifer, I also didn't try to grow my practice until I was done with school and done with the exam and everything because, I mean, I already work full time. So
Yeah.
I just couldn't handle that too.
Right. I deeply that. I mean, like, I have a wait list for my current practice. And yeah, I mean, like, I have a very minimal window of, I have no problem releasing or firing a client because, yeah, I'm not interested in going down a road that, like, someone, needing to be dragged down. So I don't fear that part of the, thing. It's just, like I say, having the time right now, the studying is time that I would have available to see more people. I've done it with a couple of clients that I've had, but it's been as much my lack of kind of keeping them to task and sort of allowing it to dwindle as much as it's I don't think it's necessarily their lack as much as it has been mine of like, okay, a little too much.
Yeah. All right. Well, I can show you guys what I do on a free consult and why, and what I learned from Jen and the forms that I use. Because I make them fill out forms before we get on a call. Before they get on my calendar, I have a couple things that I do. So let's go through it. Let me share my screen.
You do that as a filter, Joe?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense, actually.
Yeah.
And I kind of use the form too to kind of like, how much do I want to invest? So like, if they don't fill out the forms really in depth, right? Like, I know this is a 15-minute call or maybe 10. If they've really filled out the forms and it seems like based on their answers, right? Like, I may stretch that call to 30 minutes if they're really engaged, if I have the time.
Right. Let me see. Let me fill out. I had this first, but let me pull up this form. Right. This is the form that they get in my what is going on screen? This is the form that they get. And I will give you a copy if you guys use Practice Better. I don't know if you all do or not, but this is the Are We a Good Fit to Work Together? So if you're here, they're considering whether or not working with me might be beneficial choice for their health. I said, I want to do all I can to support you through my program. By completing this assessment, we will both continue to learn more about each other. After completion, you're going to be directed to a page where you can confirm your booking and then be scheduled to meet to discuss your current situation and what your expectations are going forward. So obviously just contact info, date of birth. What are their top 2 health challenges? What concerns them the most? And what did they want help with? What type of benefit do you expect to get while you are working on these issues? What has prevented you from reaching your health goals in the past? Why do you feel this partnership may help you reach your goals? Do you have support as you work on your health? How many doctors or practitioners have you worked with to try and achieve your goals over the last 2 years? What lab testing have they completed? I want to know if they're comfortable with the technical skills of emailing, using documents, and uploading forms. Because the worst thing to do is to try and do this through Practice Better and then have somebody that doesn't own a cell phone, has no computer, right? I mean, I work virtually.
So Joe, I have a question on that because I've basically been doing that whole thing, completely virtual. But, I do have a brick and mortar and I do see patients like on the insurance side and, I'm always in my pharmacy and stuff. So anyway, I had somebody that I was helping with insurance and they were just telling me things that were going on in their life. And of course, like once you know the stuff, you can't help but regurgitate it. It's
Right.
like marathon. And and so they're in their 70s, I guess.
Mhm.
And then the guy was like, "You've told me more in the last 15 minutes than any practitioner has told me, like in the lifetime of me working with them." So then they wanted to work with me. Well, they talked to my assistant and they were like, he's hard of hearing, so he'd really like to come in person. And so I'm like, I didn't really want to, but then like I kind of get that. So
It's a personal preference.
how does everybody feel about that?
You have a brick and mortar. When I
Well,
had an office, I saw people in person, and it wasn't as big of a deal, right?
well, I don't really want to get like, I'm trying to keep my functional medicine stuff virtual because, that's going to be the way,
Right.
like when I retire, right? Like I kind of feel like that's the way I'll keep my hands in things, right?
Mhm.
But so I don't want to get into the habit of having people coming in for that because I want
get it.
freedom.
I get it. I mean, I don't even want to be on camera with my clients. I tell them, I'm like, I'm here, right? And I have them on my phone. My phone's right in front of me. I have all their stuff up. And if we're on camera, this is what they're going to see.
Your
'Cause that's what
ponytail.
I'm doing, right? I mean, I think with a pen and paper in my hand. That's how my brain works. It may look, I mean, it may be doodles on the side of a page. It's definitely not notes that I'm looking back at and understanding 50% of what I write. Because a lot of times I'm just doodling through what they're saying, and by writing it, I'm thinking about it. So it's not good for me. Like I've tried it. I've tried doing every call. And some people are like, "Oh, I like seeing my clients. I like making eye contact with them." I'm like, I'm making eye contact with my clients. If they're going to look at a screen and feel like I'm making eye contact, I'm staring at a camera. And I can't stare at a camera and have my brain think. It just,
That just makes me laugh because I'm still forever like, where am I supposed to look?
yeah.
Like,
Well, I mean, this is where, if I'm looking at your faces, this is where I am. Because you're over here on my left-hand screen and you're looking at the side of my face. If you want me to think that I'm looking at you, then I have to do this, which is right at the camera. And that's what I'm looking at, the little light at the camera, which after a while makes me go like blind. I can't do it. So, I mean, I can do it for a short period of time, but I don't feel like I'm engaging with them on camera, right? It just and you're in like here you're only seeing my head, right? I'm very much in your face this way. If I really wanted to be like, conversational with you, I'd be way back here and then I can't read my screen. So, like I don't do anything on camera. The only time I go on Zoom with them is that I have to share test results and we're going over an HTMA or something like that. And then even then, I'm just a little teeny blip here, and I'm like, I'm not going to be looking at the screen. So you're going to be watching the top of my head. That's what's going to
so
happen.
are you just on the phone then
Hmm.
most of the time?
Yeah, most of the time I'm on the phone. Yep. I have met clients. I did have Deb, that one client I had that was like in his 80s, wanted to meet me face to face. We went to a Tim Hortons. That's where he wanted to go. That's where his coffee clutch meets. That's where he wanted to meet. He bought me a coffee. We were good to go. And we met face to face, and I even dropped stuff off, at his house for him, just, it was fine. Now, this new client that I have that's 70, whatever, that's driving me bonkers, I will not, I do not want him to know where I live. Like, it just, he's a lot. He called me like 3 times in a row last night, and then the third voicemail was like, "I'm dizzy and I don't feel solid on my legs." And I went, "You should go to the emergency room if you're feeling like that." I messaged him back in the portal. I did not respond to his phone calls. I did not email him. I messaged him in the portal because I told him the last time I talked, that's how I wanted him to communicate with me, was through the Practice Better chat. And I messaged him back in the portal and reiterated what I said. He was taking curcumin, and I'm like, I don't know why you're taking that. It's not anything that we discussed. And I have no idea if that's making you dizzy or not. And if you really feel unsteady on your legs, then maybe you should, call your primary or go to urgent care because this is out of my scope of what I do. Like, I'm not your personal 911 call. And he messaged me back and goes, "That was a really good learning experience. My dizziness went away." Like, like, thank you for that. And I'm like, all right, good, good. Maybe I'm getting through to this guy, right? Um, and honestly, this is a case where he answered um most of the questions on this form. And our initial discovery call gave me there were a couple moments when I was like, but there's a father-son chiropractic team. I've said this, right? So father-son chiropractic team, the son moved away. The son used to refer to me all the time, refer clients to me. The father never has. This is the first time the father has referred a client to me. So I didn't want to say no to him, but if he was a cold call, I may have discouraged him. So I am learning my own lesson here. Sometimes, Deb, we stretch because for whatever reason, right? I feel like I can help this guy if he'll get out of his own way. So we'll see. Hopefully he gets out of his own way.
Not every referral is a referral. I've had people before that, like, I will not accept referrals from people anymore because their standards are not my standards. And I don't want to do the crap of having to deal with their substandard level.
Yeah, you're breaking up a little bit, but I did catch that. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely the case where I think the son understood a lot better how I work and what I do than the dad. I used him primarily. He was I mean, I've seen the dad before too, but primarily saw the son. Um, and I don't think dad quite gets it. So we'll see. We'll see. This is the first. It might be the last. Who knows? Um, and I know two of the secretaries there have both been my clients at that office. And I don't know which ones are still working there because I haven't gone back since Junior left. So all right, let's go through. So then let's see. What lab testing, that's the technical skills. Are you financially able to do what's necessary? If people can't pay you and it's going to be a fight to get paid, I want to know. I'm like, they need to know. I don't accept insurance, like I don't mind working with people, but I don't want to be in a situation where they really can't pay. I need to know going in, like where they are. Um, Anything else they want to share, and then I always ask how they heard about me. Sometimes I know in advance because I've sent them the forms and said, here, book a call. But sometimes I don't. So I want to know how they heard about me. So yeah, let's go over here. Are you seeing the free consult now?
Yes.
Okay, let me present that full screen. So I don't charge for my consults. Some people do. Some people say the consult's $25, and if you choose then to work with me, then that 25 gets deducted from your first session. So some people do that. That is totally up to you. I do not.
I was going to charge and give it to a charitable organization when I had kind of a bunch of no-shows in a row. And then I kind of went through all of the stuff to kind of do it. And then like right when I was getting ready to institute it, like I didn't have any more no-shows. So
Yeah. I think that happens sometimes. I mean, you get like it ebbs and flows, and you
so I
know,
haven't instituted it because the problem kind of went away, but I guess I have all the work if I feel like I need to do it
if you
again.
feel like, and I think that's a good option too, is, you know, if there's a charity that you work with, um, you know, and you want to promote that, that's great. But like I said, I don't call, I don't do that. And when I meet with people, I let them know this is a call to see, it's a two-way street, right? We both have to choose to work together. Either one of us can say no. So I set that up in the beginning. We're creating the structure of an interview so that we have control and we can guide it. One, to complete it in time, right? If you've, whatever you schedule it for, 15, mine are, I think, are listed as 20, but I've blocked off 30 in my schedule. And sometimes I go over and sometimes it's short. I've gone both ways. And you know, if I have the time, if I'm back to back, then I tell them right when we talk. I have a hard stop. I've squeezed you in between two people. I have a hard stop at 2:30. Sorry. But we need to, ultimately it's our choice, right? Are we going to hire this client or not? So first I give them a 2-minute overview. I tell them, this isn't a sales call. I'm not going to seek to convince you to work with me. I literally tell them this. I don't work with everybody that meets with me on consults. I said, my job is to advocate for you because you're seeking out a path to healing. And if I feel like another practitioner is going to serve you better, then I will refer you to them. You know, I know I'm not everybody's cup of tea. Right. And the way we work is different than most. I mean, even in my area, which is flush with SAFM graduates, flush. I even have someone that's been through the exact same schooling as 45 minutes away. So we're all different, you know, so they need to know that. Some cases also require more time, right? I mean, sometimes you get a case that's like, oh my gosh, I've helped this person or someone similar to this person 15 times already, right? Or 50 times already. And it's just going to be a walk in the park, right? And you have a very clear idea when you're meeting with this person, the kind of work that it's going to take. You've read their symptom thing, you've somehow talked to them or whatever. And you know, it's going to be easy peasy. And then sometimes you're like, okay, this is going to be a lot of work. Do I have time right now to adequately serve this person? And I will tell them straight out, you know, your case, I might not have time right now to fit you in and do a good job for you and for my other clients. So that's the other consideration because I don't work full time at this, right? I don't take seeing clients isn't my full-time gig. I have lots on my plate. So I let them know that. So then I give them 10 minutes. So I let them know we're going to give them, you know, 5 to 10 minutes. I used to say 10, but then, you know, 10 goes into 15. So if I say 5 to 10, we can usually pretty much get it there. I will keep an eye on the clock. And if we get to about 8 minutes, I'll say, okay, it's been about 8 minutes. You've got about 2 minutes left if we're going to get through the whole call. So I will do that. I will tell them to openly share. I've got their forms, so I've got some of their information, but I may stop them to ask clarifying questions along the way. But for the most part, I just let them talk. Okay. And then I go over their forms with them, right? I don't want to not go over that because I want them to know that they filled them out for a reason. And I didn't just waste their time. I don't know how many times you go to the doctor's office, right? And you fill out all the freaking forms. And then the nurse asks you the same questions that you answered on the form. And then they come in and then the doctor asks you the same dang questions. And you're like, what did I fill the forms out for? right? So I want them to feel like the reason they gave me the forms was because I actually looked at them and I reviewed them. So I do go over them. I review the Are We a Good Fit form. I want to pay attention to anything that I feel is a red flag. I've seen 7 practitioners. Nobody's been able to help me. I fired every single one of them. I hope you're right. I mean, you're like, whoa, you've seen 7 people in 2 years. Am I just going to be the 8th that you fire? You know, do they seem to tear down everybody that they've worked with before? Do they have a victim mentality that nothing's ever going to work? Any other things that you guys see as red flags when you're talking to them? They want the quick fix. They need to lose 25 pounds before their daughter's wedding in 6 weeks, right? Some of those things that are just like, this is not what I do, right? I just want my headaches to go away. Depending on how they want to get there, so I review that form. I kind of go over I kind of pick out a couple of symptoms maybe that they've talked about. And I just go, I'm going to review your MSQ to make sure that you've hit all the big areas that you've marked on your symptom questionnaire. I want to make sure that we've covered that. And then I want to know, what is the motivation? What do they think about this timeline? Do they want to heal in a month, or are they ready to commit? Right? Because you don't want the person that just needs to lose weight in 6 weeks. That they've got some deadline that they're trying to hit or something. You want to work with a client that is motivated to go on this journey with you. Because it's the worst thing is to get started with a client and then decide that, they wanted a quick fix and they really weren't in it for the long haul. Then at that point, I've gone over everything that they've done. I actually asked them, would you like to hear how I work? Like with everything that we've talked about, and a little bit of the back and forth, right? Because sometimes you just don't vibe right off the bat. Why would you go into this part if they haven't heard what they want? Right? So I ask them, yes or no. Most of the time they say yes. And then I go into, these are the things, this is the rock that I'm standing on. And I'm not going to shift. And if we agree, then we can move forward. So I believe the body has a healing capability, and together we're going to discover what tools are needed to enhance that capability. I am not a healer. I am not going to heal them. I'm going to teach them. I'm going to guide them. We together are discovering what that unique person needs to heal. And they need to know that. I don't have some secret magic formula, that I can just give them and poof, they're going to be magically healed. This is something that they have to do. Right? 80% is on them. 20% is on us. And if it feels like it's the other way around, it's probably not a good client. It's different than any other approach you may have tried before because our focus is on you, the clues that we can discover that promote healing, since healing is different for every single person, right? And I let them know. I tell them, and I have a form here, a 4-page document that like kind of lays this out that you guys have. It's already uploaded in the Kartra in the membership portal. And you'll have that, and you'll have a code to download that. Are we a good fit? And then I just use the MSQ that Practice Better uses, and just call it a day. I didn't tweak that or anything. And then I kind of go through foundationally what kinds of things we're going to work on. I say the things you're doing to support your health so far obviously haven't helped you get there, which is why we're on the call today. I believe that you can't heal in the same environment in which you became ill. And we're going to figure out what it takes to move you into that healing environment. And then I go through what I charge. I said, what I charge and what it includes is based on 3 things. It's based on the amount of sessions that we are going to have together. It's based on the amount of research time. There's time that I spend not on the phone with you, researching, looking at your labs, doing all that. And you don't see that. So that's included in the price too. So when I figure out how much I'm charging, it's not just, the 90-minute intake. And the way I structure my sessions, now Jen had packages where she basically said, like you're gonna pre-purchase X amount of time with me. I don't work that way. I have a discovery call, or I have an intake call that's 90 minutes. I include an HTMA in that price, and I include one very short follow-up call that is like 15 minutes. That's about 2 weeks out from the intake, just to make sure we're all on the same page. We know what's going on. If some labs have trickled in, if I've gotten some information that may have, I was super stressed when I started doing coaching that after a 90-minute intake call, I was going to have a 6-month plan all set and ready to go. And, we were going to hit the ground running because I was going to sell them the 6-month package, and we were going to do ABC together, and we're going to work on this and this and this. Most of the time I didn't get through all the information with them, right? Some of the clients, 90 minutes, you're still like scratching the surface. You don't know everything there is to know about your clients in a 90-minute intake. So for me, I needed time, just like I said on the iron thing, right? I need time to like process what we've learned. 90 minutes is a long call, and I need time to just sit with the new information I've gotten. I know the client much better after being on the phone with them for 90 minutes. So I may change my mind on that call. And then I need time to just put that new information together. So I will say, hey, I think, give them a starting point, but then I have that intake that call that's out there a little bit, a week to 10 days out. So then we can get back together. They have time to process it. I have time to process it. And then we can get back together and go, okay, let's hit the ground running. This is what I think. What did you think? And then we go through. So I charge $4.97 for my intakes. And that's what they include. The 90-minute intake, the HTMA, and just a really quick, let's, like a mini first session. And then I tell them what I expect from them. I said, if we are going to continue, on and work together, I make sure that they understand that I can't guarantee the length of time this is going to take because every single person is different, that they have to communicate. This is not just they're not hailing a cab in New York, and we're going to go on a short trip and then part ways. This is going to be an ongoing journey together. I use the analogy of when you go to the doctors, it's kind of like hailing a cab in New York somewhere in my talk. So they understand that, we're taking a road trip here. It's not just a quick trip across town. And it's not here's your script, see you in 3 months or 6 months or whatever. It's an ongoing, I'm a coach and I'm going to be on the sideline and you're going to be doing your thing. And, we're going to talk a lot. So they need to communicate new information. They need to, fill out the journals. They need to fill out my forms every week. I like everyone to get baseline blood testing if they don't have it. If they're in New York, that is always more complicated because I'm in New York and they're in New York and I can't order labs in New York. And then they need to know that it's a partnership. And then anything else that you guys, the subtle nuances of how you work is going to be different for every single one of us, right? So communicate those things up front, that you expect from them. And then I ask them, if we do work together, what are your expectations of, what that's going to do, what that's going to look like, and what would you expect of me in that relationship? And most people are either at that point are going to be like super excited and, say that, like Deb said, you've told me more in this 15-minute call than any of my practitioners before, or I'm super excited. This is exactly what I was looking for. I just didn't know how to say it. I would expect that you would, do X, Y, Z. This is their time to give you some feedback because, you've probably been talking as long as they have. Right? But I find my clients, this is the back and forth kind of opportunity that they don't have normally to tell their practitioner what they expect, right? But you want to make sure that you have that communication open. And then you've got a choice. Are you going to work with them or not? If yes, craft some response that feels good to you. If they say yes, I go, that's great. I feel like, that you're in a good place. They say yes, you say yes, you're in a good place to do this work. I'm going to email you, or however I have an email. They get 2 emails. They get a Practice Better invitation, and then they get my email with the forms, and it lays out exactly the steps that they're going to go through to become a client. If no, you cannot blame them for you not working with them. So keep any personal judgments out of the conversation. This is not, right? If they say no, they're not ready, something, it's fine, right? Offer a referral to another practitioner. I tell my clients there's a lot of holistic practitioners in the area. There's people that do muscle testing. There's people that do homeopathy. There's people that work with more testing than I do. There's many fish in the sea in my area. And there's many people that work virtually or in person if they want someone that works in person. So try and offer them an alternative if that works, if you have someone that you can refer out to. Again, this is your business. It's our livelihood. There's an expectation of an exchange of service for money. So, we are clear about what we provide and what we expect from the client for that money. And if the client can't meet those expectations and costs us time, then that drain costs us money. And it creates emotional challenges that can be difficult for us, creating a loss. And a loss of sense of ease in your business. So keep those boundaries in place. Go back and watch the boundary video if this is a problem for you guys. But it sounds like most of you are you're doing consults already. So it's really heartbreaking to take on a client because their story has, pulled on your heartstrings, but then they can't complete the work. So you feel like you failed them in some way. That's a really hard place to be. So I'm sure we can all tell stories of the clients that didn't work out or the clients that just, made us pull our hair out at the end of the day. But anybody have any questions on anything I said?
I have a question. You work with programs or you just go with individual sessions?
Individual sessions. So after the intake, I tell people I charge $197 an hour. I bill it out in 15-minute increments. So if a client if it's just a quick check-in that they need, sometimes it is. When we're getting started, a lot of times I'll start with just hydrating and, they're working on ordering their supplements. So it's going to be a few weeks, but then we need a quick check-in when they actually get their supplements so they know what they're doing. Maybe I'm putting them on the trio for H. pylori, and I want to make sure that they know, here's you have 3 bottles in front of you, right? You have a mastic gum, which you're going to take. You have a Brocomax, which you need to split open because it's a time release capsule and we can't wait for the time release to happen. It needs to be broken open and swallowed. And, did you get the borage oil in the pill or did you get the liquid form? And this is how much you take, right? And you take it morning and night and da 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 da. So sometimes it's just really quick. And then before, 3 weeks is up and they've got to transition to starting to take some HCl and some digestive support, we hop on the phone again. If they need more, and I tell them everybody's different. I don't know how much guidance you're going to need, right? You've got those kids that are just like self-starters and doers, and they can read the paper and follow the instructions and go. And then you have the ones that are like, no, mom, help me. Right? Like like, am I doing it right? Am I doing it right? Like, and you have to be there and encourage them more. So the clients, I don't know what they're going to need. I don't know if they're fine with a quick text check-in or if they're actually going to need to hear my voice on the phone. And
But
they know.
that's the actual support, correct? But there is a coaching support as well. Like when you work with people, I guess you work on the diets, correct? You work on the lifestyle.
Yeah.
So would you see them every 4 weeks, or they will
At
decide that
least monthly. Like, I want
at
to
least
see them at
monthly?
least monthly, right? But we kind of have that conversation about if this is how much, right? What's your budget on a monthly basis? Like, I want to be very open with people. I don't want people to get started thinking that, well, they can just do this with a quick 15-minute check-in once a month, because I don't get to know you. And if I don't know you, I can't advise you. So, this relationship is, yes, we need to communicate. On a weekly basis, you're going to fill out the form. At the bottom of my form, it says, would you like to book a call? And if they feel like they need support to book a call, then they immediately get a booking link from me. So the forms go out on Monday. If they need to book a call, they book a call. If they're okay without, that's fine. If I feel like it's a conversation where I need to talk to them, then I will send back, I think we need to hop on a quick call.
Do you send them session notes?
I use Otter AI, and Otter will summarize the call and give them action steps. And sometimes I have to tweak it, but that's what I send them. And my session notes have what we did today. It has a check-in on supplements, either continue your supplements, or this is your new supplement, or here's the link, or whatever it is. If there's a new protocol that I'm like, I'll say, because Practice Better calls them protocols, and they know I don't like that terminology, but that's what they're
Yeah.
called. So, here's,
What do you use to do that? Because, I used to write my session notes myself, and that would take hours
oh,
and
I can't.
hours and hours. And then I realized
Yeah.
also very few people would read them.
Right.
So I changed to, I sent some people a video where I
Mhm.
summarize what we did, like 3 minutes, and
Mhm.
then okay, for until we meet again, this is this and this. And some other people I always ask, like I send them on a WhatsApp, because I told them like, what is better for you, your email or WhatsApp? They say WhatsApp, so I sent like 3 sentences, 4, 5, 10
Right.
in WhatsApp. But I mean the session notes, it's something, it didn't work for me. Way too much time. But what do you use, you said?
It's called Otter, OTTER.ai. And it's a note taker. It can go into your Zoom or Google Meetings or whatever. Let me see if I can pull up.
Because that would be great. Just because I love the idea of session notes,
Mhm.
even if they don't read it, some people will, but just the time.
So this was part of 2 hours and 12 minutes. This guy, my problem guy, talked forever. But let me show you what Otter looks like. I'll share my screen. There. Yes, there we go. There we are. I think that's it. Yeah. So it basically gives a little overview, but then it gives action items. So order nettle leaf, order biotoxin binder and CT zyme, keep a food and mood journal. Those were the first 3 things I told him to do after the 8th thing. And then it does give a whole outline. But I literally just copy these action items.
Yeah, you do that. Okay, I'll look at it.
And that's what I send. So they have those as a task. And I might give a little bit more, depending on the overview, but I mean, this has the entire transcript of everything that we said. And you can copy the summary, and I copy the summary into Practice Better.
Okay, that works. I mean, the video, a lot
But
of
I
people like
don't
it.
share the whole
Yeah.
summary. I put it on a window
You
for
put it,
just
yeah,
me,
okay.
and then I have it, and then I can cut and paste what fits. Because then in Practice Better, it's there's 5 things. So let me pull it up because I never remember. So let me pull
Yeah,
up
I
my
don't have
note.
Practice Better.
Well, but you can still use the note, this little form.
Yeah,
All right,
yeah,
so
I
let
can
me
use it.
pull up note created. So I have a section that is practitioner only. That's where I put that copy and paste. But so my note is today's date. 1 says what we did today. And then I said intake. And, and that's all it says. 2 is supplements. And then I put the links to the supplements. If they're on my full script, then I put them in full script, but if not, they're there. And then I give them 3 is watch or read this. So if there's something that I want them to actually go and look up or read a handout, a video, I put the link there. 4 is lab instructions. So if there's any labs that need to happen, sometimes that's blank, sometimes it's, do it. And then 5 is next appointment.
Okay, yeah.
And then it has a reminder for the next appointment. And that's my notes. That's it.
Okay, so it's okay, yeah. Okay, well
It's
that I do with a video or with a WhatsApp, but yeah,
Yeah,
that I need to look at
that
it,
is
yeah.
absolutely it. Because I tell them, I expect you to take your own notes.
Yeah.
Because what I think is important that I'm going to write down and what you think is important are 2 different things.
Yeah, that's what I started doing because I
And because
realized
my notes look like this.
I was doing the homework for them and then they would wait for my notes and then they wouldn't even read it. So I was like, no. And now I tell them, okay, when we start working together, you get a little notepad. Sometimes I send it to them and I say, that's you and yourself. You write everything in that notepad and
Yeah.
you go back and you check.
Yeah.
And that I think works better for me as well because they're responsible, not me. I have to
Exactly.
go. I have to go. That was great. Thank you so
Yep.
much.
Yep.
Bye. Bye.
Bye, Tammy. All right. Anything else, guys? I still have 25 minutes blocked in my calendar, so yeah, my notes are for me. Exactly, Deb. My notes to collect my thoughts. So Jen, is there anything?
No, I'm just getting a little familiar with better. I poked around a little bit, but again, I'm still in this like learning phase,
Yeah,
so it's
no, it's
not as
fine.
heavy a influence right now. But
Well, I mean,
I do like what she says about, you know, I agree. Like the few times I've written the notes, yeah, I'll be like, oh, well, that was in your note, and they're like, oh, I didn't even know there was a note, and I'm like, because you do spend time doing it.
yeah, yeah, I cannot tell you how much I hate taking notes. I mean, I love doing my own little like thing. And I'm a paper and pen girl, but then like actually trying to get that and type it up for clients was driving me crazy. It is well worth the money I spend on Otter AI to have them summarize. If I have clients that like having tasks, and I will do that as a task. And sometimes I'll take those action items and do that, but most of the time I just put them in the notes. And then my notes, I don't make a new note in Practice Better. I have one note that I update. So I don't sign it. I don't ever sign it because once you sign it, it's done. You can't change it. So I have a rolling set of notes and I put a line and then I copy those 5 things again, what we did today, supplements, what I want you to read, what labs, and when our next appointment is, over and over and over. And then above that, I put the little task thing. And then in the practitioner only section, which is hidden from them, is where I copy and paste the summary from Otter. So I can go back and know what we said. But otherwise, that's
And
all.
then how do you, I was kind of a little divided in my attention. So
That's
how you let people determine their frequency? Is it just they book with you, or do you guide them on that, or how do
I
you?
will guide them on that. Like the last thing in there, like this guy didn't send his HTMA in correctly, so it got rejected. He
Mhm,
needed a new one. So I
mhm.
put in there that our next appointment will be when the HTMA results come in.
Oh, okay.
So I'm sure we're probably, when he gets the supplements, we're going to have to talk about how he does that and how he adds them in. So he may request that. Um, but I put a tentative time frame, and then they get their weekly check-in form where they have to check in every week and let me know how they are, and they can request a session. But when it's time, then I send them the link. I used
And
to
did you?
do every 2
I
weeks.
was, yeah, I was gonna say, did you ever do it more frequently, like more on a schedule?
I did. I did.
I find that every 2 weeks, people don't even really have time to get their crap figured out with what I asked them to do.
Right. Well, I mean, half the time they don't even have the new supplements in hand. They're like,
Well,
I only
that
just got
or
them
like,
yesterday, or I don't have them, or
or if you ask them to, start doing something with sleep hygiene, right? Like they've had to read it, they've had to think about it, and then they've had to think about, okay, what are they going to do? I just find like 4 weeks just seems to be a sweet spot where you at least can see what they have and haven't done,
right.
what they might need assistance with. And plus, I mean, my calendar's kind of full. Like trying to see somebody every 2 weeks would be really difficult, I think, for me.
Yeah. And it's all different. I mean, sometimes you're working through something that has a lot of moving pieces, and you have to kind of check in. And sometimes it's like, okay, you're on step 2, and it's going to be, you got to do it for 4 weeks. And sometimes, I mean, I often I will do microbiome labs TGR on people, which
I don't
is
know what that is.
total gut restoration,
Oh,
where
okay.
they have 3 products, and you're supposed to be on each product
That's
for a
12
month.
weeks.
Yeah. And sometimes it takes some time to transition from step 1 to step 2. So it's not even 4 weeks, 4 weeks, 4 weeks. It's 6 weeks, and then maybe 5 weeks, and then, then maybe 4 weeks. So it doesn't go as smoothly as, just 4, 4, and 4. Um, so yes, you need to meet during transition times, and then other people are like, no, I'm good. And it's 12 weeks. So,
So how do you decide how frequently you want to take in new people? Like if there's no, rhythm, so to speak, of like the what people are seeing you at,
right.
do you just end up with like a big pile jam some days?
Yeah, some days it is. I mean, there's weeks when I don't have a client appointment at all, and then there's other weeks where I have 4 or 5, and it happens. So you do your best to try and
I look at if there's an
fill in.
appointment available, then I can take somebody. If
Yep.
they're, I mean, I'm not at a point where I'm on a waiting list, and usually people can get in within, I don't know, 3 weeks most of the time. I mean, my schedule does stay pretty booked just with other meetings and things, but I haven't had to look at things and say, okay, I need to now stop going to this because I need to open up time on my schedule. I mean, for all I care, I mean, I could have 100 people, and
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's
Well,
whoever books the appointment gets the spot. And that's what I think.
right. Well, and I agree on the time frame. And let me know if I'm cutting out again at all. I can't tell, but I
You're
agree on
good.
the time frame because sometimes implementing stuff is just not on that. I mean, FSAFM is really about that, like every 2 weeks kind of
Right.
mantra, I'll say. And, realistically, sometimes you end up just kind of, I don't want to say wasting a session because there's always something to learn and always something to talk about. But
Right.
sometimes there's no progress to be had in like what you thought you were going to do because they didn't accomplish what you thought they would. So,
Right. And that's where I in the beginning I did every 2 weeks. But then I felt a little disingenuous sometimes having a session when there wasn't anything going on. And there were plenty of times where I said, we're going to cut this short because you still have some work to do and you don't have your supplements. And I feel like it would be disingenuous of me, in all integrity, to keep you on the phone for 45 more minutes. So I'm just going to charge you a quarter. And when I found myself saying that more often than not, like, I'm not going to keep you on the phone for an hour if we can be done early, and adjusting and trying to figure out, okay, so now how do I bill this out? Because I've already billed you for an hour and you've already paid for an hour, right? To just say, you know
Yeah.
what? I'm not billing you before the session. I'm going to, after the session is over, we're going to look at the clock and say, okay, it was 35 minutes. I'm billing you for 30. Right? So when it clicks over 15, then cha-ching. Clicks over 30, cha-ching. Clicks over 45, cha-ching. And I just separate it out in 15-minute increments,
Right.
And split the difference. So, and then how many times do you get on the phone with someone and you don't have a call afterwards, and then you just, I don't know how many times I've ended up chit-chatting with a homeschooling mom who's a client of mine, and then they go, "Can I ask you about your science class? Can I ask you about how you dissected, whatever?" And I'm like, "All right, well, we're cutting off the time here." And, so, there are times too when it goes off topic and we're not talking about their healthcare anymore either. So,
Yeah.
that happens. So, but yeah,
Good.
and you just have to do what's right for you. And it may change over time. You may feel like you're running two separate practices and you need to be very, you know, regimented in how you schedule people. But then at the same time, don't feel like, oh my gosh, we really kind of need to push this out 3 weeks because, whatever. The lab test didn't come back, or the supplements didn't come in, or the client got sick, right? And totally went off. It's just, life is dynamic and you kind of got to be flexible.
Right. What forms of payment do you accept? Because you do
Um,
a lot of stuff distance. So,
Yeah, my practice better is through Stripe, so it's all through that. Um, it will, as long as you get your Stripe to be connected to healthcare, then you can accept like HSAs and FSAs sometimes.
mhm.
But every insurance company is different. So,
Yeah, I
yeah.
don't take insurance. And I
Uh,
don't want to.
well,
It's
no,
just,
I don't take insurance either, but a lot of times people can use those extra, you know, we have like so much money taken out of our account, pre-tax to be used for different healthcare things. And I've had people whose insurance actually will pay for my services. I've had some that it'll only pay for their lab tests, right? So it depends. But my account is set up to take those cards. And it all goes back to what your business listed categorized as. So, um,
okay.
but yeah, it's whatever. I have had people, I see local people too, so I've had people pay by check or pay cash,
Hmm.
but I try to make everything go through the portal because then it's just easier on me to track things.
Yeah, bookkeeping and all that.
Yeah.
Totally. So, I mean, if someone is looking in practice better, like I know
Mhm.
you can kind of set your rate and da 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 da. So, how do
Yeah.
you adjust that when someone is a different amount of time? Do you just invoice them
I
or?
invoice it after the call. Yeah. I
Okay.
have it set up. They book in for a 15-minute slot, and then I have the time afterward. So it says 15 minutes, on the call, but it's actually slots them in for an hour. And I'm
Okay.
flexible enough now that it's not really a problem. Um,
Hmm.
so I kind of know.
And do you just leave your schedule open on Practice Better? Like, do you just have consistent
No,
times? I
well,
mean,
I
because you
have
do so many
consistent
other
times.
things.
Yeah. I have
Yeah.
consistent times that are there. Like last week, I don't know how somebody booked in, like they booked an intake in at 11 when we had one of these calls scheduled at noon. And I was like, that's not going to work. I don't know how it didn't have it list. I don't know what happened, but they were able to sneak into a time slot that was not free. Um, I still don't know how he did it. It was some wizardry on that end.
Yeah, right.
Like, telling you,
Hmm.
sometimes when you get the clients that like you're like not sure about, then stuff like, booking things happen. They go over their time. Literally, when we were on the call, my internet and power went out and we lost everything. And then, I mean, I had him on the phone, but like everything else was dark. Like the lights went off because he wanted to Zoom. We tried to Zoom, but then he couldn't get a microphone to work. So we were just staring at each other with no sound. I'm like, this is crazy. Um,
Yeah.
like all
Those
these,
are the
all these,
technological joys.
yeah, all these things that were happening. And I'm like, okay, I'm supposed to be helping this guy. So
Excellent.
anyway,
Well, thank you. I
oh, you're
appreciate the
welcome.
insight. So,
No, no problem. It really honestly, and there are times when I think maybe I should go back to, like book in for the time you think you need. And if we go over, then I'll add, you know. Um, but I think my clients appreciate the fact that I'm trying to work with them. And I tell them, I mean, on my intakes, I explain to them, this is how much my intake is. It's probably going to be the first 4 to 6 weeks of working together. After that, I charge 197 an hour and I bill it out in 15-minute increments. So if we're on the phone, I said this way we can work within your budget. You can get the help you need when you need it. You're never afraid to reach out. If literally we can be on the phone for 5 minutes, then there's no charge. Like, I don't mind hopping on the phone with them to hear their voice, to actually be able to connect and make them like be able to go to the next step. The worst part about what we do is when people run out of money,
yeah.
right? And you have to kind of leave them hanging. And I don't want them to ever feel like they need to be left hanging, you know? Um, and I tell them with the whole analogy that I use is I use the taxi cab analogy, but I also use but the difference is we're on a bus and you're in the driver's seat and I'm behind helping you navigate, telling you what the lay of the land is. You get to decide how fast we do this work, how slow we do this work, if we pay a toll and get some extra testing, or if you just want to kind of try some things, take the scenic route, and move slowly and try some things that don't cost any money, we can do that too. But if you need to pull off at a rest stop and take the summer off, then that's okay. I just don't want you, you know, falling back. Like I want you to be able to continue moving forward. So, however that journey looks, you're the one in control of it. And I know I'm not the end all be all. There's
Right.
going to be other people. There's a whole bus, right? In New York, you're going to need your primary care to get blood work. You probably have a chiropractor, right? You probably, wouldn't mind getting a massage every once in a while. Maybe you like acupuncture. Maybe you're using some homeopathy and you want someone that's better trained in that, right? All those people are going to be on the bus with us. I don't want, you know, I'm not going to get mad when you bring another practitioner into your healthcare team because I've had that happen too. I've had one functional person get mad that I was talking to a naturopath. I'm like, sorry, you had a 3-month wait list. So guess what? I went to see the naturopath first.
Yeah.
You know,
How do you navigate the whole chatting feature of Practice Better? Do you have people that this might be a strong word, but like overuse it or abuse it and are just, boundaryless on the chat?
I tell them right off that some things are appropriate for chat, but sometimes things get lost in translation. So at any point in time, if I feel like there's an issue where we actually have to hop on the phone, then I'm going to say that right in the chat. I also tell them that I am not an emergency room. I will only answer the chat during work hours in between clients. So it's a great place to communicate things that you need to get down so you can tell me. It's a great place to check in. But you know, I'm not going to really, I don't treat, diagnose, or cure anything. So I'm not going, if you spike a fever and want to know whether you should go to the hospital or not, I'm probably going to say, I can't answer that for you. Right? Because I'm not an ER. I'm not a medical hotline. That's for, hey, I just upped my HCl. And I'm getting a little heartburn. I can't remember what you told me about that. What does that mean? Am I supposed to back down now or, whatever? Like it's for quick check-ins. It's not for whatever. So I lay out pretty clearly if, once they say that they're going to work with me and they get that email back, part of the intake and part of that follow-up call is all those subtle things that, now we're going to work together. Now this is, your food and mood journal is opened up. I'm going to be sending you a form every week for you to check in. This is how I want you to use the chat. This is what, these are the protocols, but, I don't like the term protocol. This is why. Right? Because there's no set protocol like for everybody. I'm like, these are things that I know work and, I might have like 3 different options for you. So yes, you're going to get this protocol, but, you're going to tweak it for yourself.
Right.
So there's all those things around like how we practice, but yeah, that chat thing is what I lay out pretty clearly, like what's appropriate for there. And at any point in time, if I feel like we need to talk, I'm going to let them know. It's a service that's there for them, but it's not a way to get out of being on the phone and actually having that coaching relationship. It's more like a marriage. And you want to see your spouse face to face sometimes and you want to hear their voice. If all you ever did with your spouse was text, it would be weird. So find an analogy to make.
Yeah, no, it's good because I mean, again, like in this new generation of all of the digital communication and stuff, there are people that's their primary way of communicating, and that is not the same. And
well, and I tell people, I'm like, it's lost in translation, right? There's a ton. I don't know how many fights or disagreements or arguments my children have gotten into with their friends because they tried to solve it over chat. I'm like, just see each other face to face. Like, go get a coffee, go hang out. Bet this wouldn't happen, but they try and like chat back and forth. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is a mess. Just go talk to him. Right? Just go. But it's the same thing. Like, if you can say, like, I use that spouse relationship all the time. Like, you want to be together and like have the experience, and you're never going to get to know a person until you actually meet them face to face. So, if you don't actually talk to them. So.
Yep. Great. Well, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. All right, Deb. She's out of
Enjoy
frame.
your weekend.
Yeah, you guys too.
Bye.
Opening night for Mousetrap. I'm excited.
Oh, enjoy.
It's going to be fun. All right. Bye, Deb.